Hello, hello, everyone. I am calling you from Minnesota. We're doing a transatlantic, I guess, an international webinar
Inter-
today for you. We're so excited you're here. I'm Scott Meyer. It's my friend Devora Wolf from
Hello.
AutoLeadStar. How you doing today, or this evening, I guess? What time is it where you are?
Oh, here it's 9 p.m.
Okay, great. So she's closing her little nightcap
Yeah.
with marketing AI, which is always fun. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting my lunch day started. So we're so excited all of you are here who are on the webinar. This is going to be a really interactive session. So I want to invite you to click on the GoToWebinar control panel and click on the questions section. There's a section there called questions. And I want to hear where everyone's calling in from. I see Melvin's already in there. We got a lot of great attendees. I saw that Wayne was calling in. Maybe are you in California, Wayne, or Texas? Let me know. We got a lot of fan boys and girls from AutoLeadStar. So we got people calling in from San Diego and Connecticut and Charlotte and Minnesota and Israel. So great audience, great representation as well. So we're really excited that all of you could come. And we're really want you to know where that questions box is because we encourage you to use it throughout the webinar. So feel free at any time, any questions, thoughts, things you need to share with the group, put them in there. We'll make sure to bring them up with everybody and invite you to kind of be a part of this webinar. Now, if we go too fast today, we will be sending you a full recording of this webinar so you can go back and learn everything that we talked about. So don't worry about taking furious notes. You'll get a copy of all the slides and of the video as well. So I think we can kind of kick it off. Are you feeling ready?
I'm feeling ready.
All right, let's do it.
All
Well,
right.
hopefully you guys can see our screen here, the marketing AI for auto dealers, and you kind of met us a little bit. Well, we'll do a real brief introduction. We'll get right into it because there's so much to cover today. So, as I mentioned, I'm Scott Meyer. I call myself a bro founder because I started 9CLOUDS with my brother way back in 2009, and we provide services for auto dealers to do digital marketing. So we focus on SEO and ads and email and lead tracking, really help people attract leads to their website. We track what those people are looking at, and then we send those leads to the dealer. So we're proudly based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We love teaching people, so we write a lot on our blog. You'll get a link to some of our articles with the slides as well, so feel free to go read it. And had the pleasure of meeting everyone from AutoLeadStar at a conference a few months back, and that's kind of how we met. And it seemed like AutoLeadStar was doing such cool things in AI. Wanted to share some of it with you, and also to do a joint webinar. So why don't you go ahead and introduce AutoLeadStar for us?
All right. Well, we're really excited to be here also. Yeah, so I'm Devora from AutoLeadStar. I'm the content marketing manager. And basically what we do at AutoLeadStar is we call ourselves artificial intelligence for your dealership. We help dealers capture more of their traffic that's already on their site. And in general, we try to develop tools to improve the online shopping experience through personalization technology. We're working on a lot of great AI stuff now, so we're really excited to talk about some of the AI developments going on.
Yeah, that's so great. We're excited to talk about it together, and I think AI really is a topic that people are hearing a lot about. So why don't you kind of explain it so we're all on the same page because it's kind of a buzzword and there's a lot of different variations, and we'll kind of talk about that. So why don't you start us off and give us a little dictionary time here?
Okay, a little dictionary time. What is AI? So first term here is artificial intelligence, of course, also known as AI. And basically, AI is a computer program that does any task that usually requires a human. So if you use something like Siri that uses voice recognition, that's AI. Maybe you use Google Translate. That's another example of AI. And so machine learning is a type of AI. Sometimes people use the words interchangeably, but they're not really the same thing. Machine learning is a type of AI. And basically, that's when you provide a computer with the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So you train a computer to look at data and make decisions on its own, and it basically continually improves itself. And we'll talk about more examples of that in a bit. One more definition, predictive analytics, which is a type of machine learning. And there, we're looking at data, analyzing it, synthesizing it in real time, and then the machine makes a decision to perform some sort of task based on it. So all your robots, that's what's going on here.
Yeah, I feel, I have two little girls who are almost 4 and 2, and I feel like what you described is basically my life. Is like trying to get them to learn on their own. So maybe, yeah, I think AI is ahead of my 4-year-old, but that's good. So that's good. That's kind of the level we're talking at. So AI has a lot of potential, but I think most of us, if you're like me, you think about AI with robots, machines, like this apocalyptic world, and it seems like something in the far off distant future. We maybe hear about it in the United States during the presidential election about automation taking our jobs or all this kind
Right.
of really crazy press about it. But I think what people don't realize is that it's already here. Like, if you use Facebook ads, if you've ever run a Facebook ad, you're using AI, and it's kind of invisible. And I think that's what's really exciting is that AI, when done well, is not noticeable, right? It's kind of just there helping without you knowing it. So that's kind of what we're going to try to get to today, and we'll kind of work our way up there first. So the way I like to think about AI, just to kind of simplify it, is you start with some kind of data. A lot of times it's called corpus in the technical world, or some kind of information. And basically that data will lead to a trigger, and that trigger will lead to an action. And so, a lot of times in marketing, a simple example might be the data might be your CRM, right? You have information about when people bought their cars, and the trigger might be 12 months before their lease is up, and the action might be sending them an email, right? So that's kind of a manual version of using data and a trigger and an action. But there's more automated ways to do this. And what we'll try to do today is I'll kind of talk about all the things that you could do that are sort of on the route to AI, and then Devorah will kind of dive into using full-fledged AI, because I think a lot of you are already on your way there. So we'll kind of talk about it. One of my favorite examples, just to kind of give you a tool, is using AI to help us write content. At 9CLOUDS, we write a lot of content, and one thing you can do is kind of look at or listen to what people say in your dealership, right? If they ask a question, that's a great topic to write about on your blog. But what happens when we can't do that at scale, right? If you have hundreds of customers, it's hard to always hear what they're asking. So an example of transitioning from that manual process to AI is looking at, say, the first page of Google for a term like content marketing, and then do what's called topic clustering. So basically we take all the topics and words on the first page and we put them into a huge word cloud like you see here, and then we can use those words to decide what to write about, right? And there's actually tools. We'll give you a few tools at the end, like Skyword, that actually will identify the best words and things to write about, and even find you writers to do it. So there's kind of this interesting mesh of taking what we do offline, but then scaling it with technology. And that's kind of what I'm really excited about. So hopefully AI is not robots and scary and it's going to take my job, but instead it helps you do what's most human, I would say, is it actually takes away monotony and helps you do strategic work. So you can focus on being productive, doing strategy, making decisions, and letting the AI or the machines or predictive analytics or marketing automation tools kind of do the basic tasks. Just like we use spell check, right? It's the same thing now, using AI to help us generate content and marketing. So that's kind of where I see things going. And right now, the place that I would think everyone should be at is at least doing what I call targeted marketing. So targeted marketing is differentiated from what we maybe normally do, because we're not just sending out an email to everyone in our database the first Monday of the month because that's how we've always done it. Instead, we think about who are those people who should receive a specific message, and they get a message tailored to them. So in this example, we maybe take people from our CRM who have looked at our website and bought more than 2 years ago, and if they were looking at a sedan, they'll get an email or a mailer or a social media message or an ad about a sedan. The people who were looking at a truck page on your website are going to get something about a truck, right? So you're just targeting the message to someone based on their activity. But this is done manually, right? We write the email, we decide to click the send button, and really all we're changing is the audience, which is determined based on someone's kind of history or behavior. Now, what we do at 9CLOUDS, a way that I think all of us could take action on the targeted marketing side, is sending out emails and actually seeing what people are doing. So if you send out an email, instead of just promoting something, you can actually ask questions like, are you going to buy in the next 6 months or 12 months or 24 months? Are you interested in new or used, or you're just looking for service deals? And then based on their interest, based on what they click on, based on what they look at, then talk to them in that way. So more of a targeted way. So maybe you send the buyback or trade-in message to people buying in the next 6 months. Maybe you send the why buy here message to people who aren't buying in the next 6 months. Maybe you send the incentives to people who are looking at a lot of VDP pages. And of course, you want to talk to people not just when they're buying, but after they've bought, right? So people who have purchased, they receive some kind of accessories or service message, and even just kind of a happy anniversary, right? So all of this can be done really easily with email, and a lot of you are probably already doing it with your CRM. But that same kind of target messaging approach can be extrapolated to the ads world. So in the Facebook ad world, you can make an audience based on those interests. If someone's going to buy in the next 6 months, they're going to get the ads with the, with the trucks. If someone already purchased, they're going to get the service ads. So again, we're not, the machine's not making all the decisions for us here. We're making the decisions on the audience, and we're pushing send, but we're using that data, that CRM, that corpus, to build our audience and then taking action off of it. So that's what I would call targeted marketing. I think that's something that, a lot of marketers probably should be doing. It's sort of best practices now, and using that data really helps people out. And I know, Devora, you look at a lot of content. You guys are working on with a lot of data. So any thoughts on kind of targeted marketing lessons you've learned, or things that maybe you want to jump in on there? And anyone else can throw in a question here too.
Yeah, I mean, I just think what you're saying about data is so important, and about really looking at that data, because sometimes there's actually more of it than we use in making those decisions, and being able to really like figure out what people want, asking them those questions, and respond in a really personalized way.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, what data matters. I think the marketers and the car dealers, we think a lot about talking about price and features, and one of the things we found is actually color is a really important data point. Like if someone's looking at a lot of black cars, they'll actually be more likely to click on your emails or click on your ads if they're also black. So sometimes it's the really small things that can make a big difference. So, so that targeted marketing approach is, I'd say kind of marketing 101 now, using data to market. So you're sending the right message to the right people at the right time. But we can actually take it a step further. And one of the things we love doing at 9CLOUDS is using marketing automation to help us with what we might call predictive marketing. So who do we think is going to be interested in buying based on the data and activity? So what a marketing automation tool like HubSpot or SharpSpring, or a couple of them, would do is they make an entry for each person, like Canella here. We can see all the information that you have in your DMS or CRM, but then we can also see what they do. So we know that this person bought more than 2 years ago, and so we're going to send them an email about maybe a trade-in message because they probably have positive equity. So we send her an email, and we can see then that Canella clicked on the email, and once she clicked on the email, she then went and filled out a trade-in request, and we can see all the information that she put in the trade-in request. So this is a way for us to decide who to talk to based on past behavior. We can actually set up what's called a lead score so that people are basically given points for different activities that they take. So think about this as, not listening for someone asking a question on the showroom floor and then taking an action, but listening to thousands of questions and trying to give them points if they're asking a certain number of questions, and then marketing to those people. That would be kind of predictive marketing. So this is an example of what like SharpSpring's lead scoring looks like. So you can see maybe you get a point for every time they come to your site. If they look at the pricing page, like on 9CLOUDS, they get 10 points. If they look at your finance page, maybe they get 20 points. So you kind of decide what matters to you, what identifies a potential buyer. And then when they reach a threshold of 30, 40, 50 points, then you send them a message. That could be your sales reps reaching out, or it could be an automated message like this workflow where they get sent an email and an ad and kind of taken from there. So this is kind of that predictive marketing piece where we're deciding who's interested based on activity, but we're deciding what matters, right? I'm saying it from 9CLOUDS. I think the pricing page is worth 10 points. I think that an email click is worth 5 points, right? So it's all kind of manually done, but then the marketing can be automated after that. So that's going to be a little different than when we get into the full-fledged diet. This is kind of the middle route. And we see a lot of success with this on Facebook as well, where you can actually do dynamic ads using inventory. So this is an example of an inventory feed being pulled into Facebook, into the product catalog. And then what happens is, based on the vehicle, whether it's new or used or even color that someone looks at, they're then going to be served that exact VIN number or stock number in their Facebook feed. So it's a great way to, again, you show the right message to the right people. It's a little different or a little bit more in-depth than retargeting because it's the exact vehicle they looked at, and the ad is created after they visited instead of creating an ad and deciding anyone who looks at these pages sees it. Instead, it's going to be more dynamic. So that's how dynamic predictive sort of tweaks into Facebook. And I think the secret that I mentioned at the beginning is that you guys are probably already using AI. If you've used Facebook, one of the ways that you can target an ad is who's going to buy a car. You can focus that around style or around make. And what Facebook's really doing is they're looking at all of our behavior. If you go to an automotive website, a car dealer's website, you're going to Facebook pages, they actually have your Polk registration information so they know when you bought a car. They're putting all of that together and looking at their billions of users and saying, usually when someone does A, B, C, and D, they're going to buy a car in the next 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. So they're using artificial intelligence to learn when people buy, and then they're giving that back to you as a really easy to use feature or filter for your ads. So go into Facebook ads and learn how many people are going to buy a car in your neighborhood. Or if you want, we have a really fun tool that's super easy to use. If you go to cumulus.9clouds.com, I'll just show you how it works. You can put in a zip code. So I'll just put in a zip code here in an email, and it'll actually tell you, based on Facebook's AI, how many people are in the market to buy a car. So 8,200 people right now are looking to buy a car in my zip code. So that's kind of a fun example of how you can tap into other people's machine learning, their high-tech tools, and just use it in kind of an easy way. You don't need to have any technical knowledge. So we're really excited about using AI, especially when it's sort of under the radar. And hopefully some of those tools like Cumulus and some of the marketing ideas help you kind of go down the path. Because the next step that Deborah is going to talk about is when you dive into the pool head first for AI.
Okay, great. So thanks so much, Scott. That was really helpful, and we're always excited to hear about what you guys are doing at 9CLOUDS. And one of the things that you mentioned was that using AI can really boost your efficiency and cut down on the busy work, right? Again, not about the robots, but about you focusing on the things that are more interesting and more profitable, really. So that's one of the goals of AI as we start to talk about some of these AI applications. The other thing that AI does is personalize, like the way you were talking about, but on a really large scale. So what AI allows is the ability to reach a lot of customers with personalization, and of course, that with the goal of that is to bring more customers in to increase sales. So we'll get into some examples. So just to sort of underscore how important AI is becoming and how these tools are developing so rapidly, experts predict that by 2020, which is just 3 years from now, more than 85% of customer interactions will occur without a human. And so again, that's sort of not to scare us into thinking that our teams will be obsolete, but to more understand that they'll be able to focus on more interesting projects and we'll be able to take care of a lot of the little things with machines. Another important stat to keep in mind is the importance of personalization, and that is that more than 3/4 of marketers want to be able to use real-time personalization, but a lot of them really struggle with it, 60%. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that accessing and implementing these tools has been a challenge if you're not like Amazon or some other huge company, but part of what's so exciting about these developments is that they're becoming more accessible to more and more people. So another thing that we want to stress is that 86% of customers pay more for a better customer experience. And when we talk about customer experience today, a lot of times we're talking about this personalized, one-to-one, tailored experience, which I think is really intuitive for a lot of us. You know, I'm definitely the type of customer who chooses a place that provides a better experience as opposed to only looking at the lowest price, and definitely the stats in the auto industry play this out as well. We know that buying a car can be so overwhelming, and so people really look for that positive experience, and that really boosts revenue also. The last thing to note is about scalability, as we mentioned, being able to expand personalization on a large scale. So just this interesting quote that I saw from a marketing officer who wanted to let us know that when you have a small team, you can personalize to a huge amount of people, right? He says, AI tools are the only way I can scale helpfulness to a global community of 200,000 with a team of 2, right, which would otherwise really be impossible. So hopefully this is where AI is taking us, to this large-scale personalization and customer service. So let's get into some applications that can really help dealerships with personalization, and we'll talk about 3 different ways. One is on-site interactions, one is chatbots, which you've probably been hearing about, and the last we'll talk about is retargeting. So the first, on-site interactions. So what we mean by that, what we're going to focus on right now, is basically when you show some kind of content overlay, otherwise known as a pop-up, to your shoppers. What predictive marketing can do, or predictive analytics, the AI that we spoke about at the beginning, where we analyze data and make predictions based on it, will show customers what they want to see on your website at a time when they might want to see it. So here's an example of an offer that's a little more general. So like if you have somebody come to your website, they're looking at the home page, they haven't really clicked around much, they haven't really looked at VDPs, you might want to show them this general type of offer with language like window shopping that speaks to their needs, and hopefully they'll then fill out that conversion form and you'll have that contact information in your CRM. But the point is that machine learning can tell what this person is doing and show them this offer sort of based on their behavior, based on behavior of similar users as well. Another example, sort of a counterpoint to that, is something more specific, which you might want to show to a customer who's demonstrated that they're further along in their shopping process. They're browsing a particular VDP, maybe multiple times, maybe they've come back to your site 5 or 6 times, and the AI can figure out all of this information and be able to show them this offer. And again, hopefully they'll convert on it. So just to get into a little bit more how this AI works, it really works in a feedback loop, and so when we talk about machine learning, where the machine has the ability to continually improve itself, this is really how it works. So we start with the data input, and in our case, right, if somebody's shopping your website, it's the pages they're looking at, it's how many times they've been to your site, it's how long they've spent, it's which pages they've seen, right, and it could also be information like their geographic location, time of day, the language of their browser, right? All of that information can go into the predictive machine learning's ability to segment that customer and then predict what that customer might want to see. And then actually offer that to them, and this all happens in real time, right? No one's sitting there behind the scenes making these decisions. It's all done automatically in real time. And then the last step, if you see that left-hand circle, customer response, right? It takes the response of the user, whether they filled out the form, whether they dismissed it, whether they clicked away, and that goes back in as additional data, and then the system continues to improve itself based on what customers do. So that's really what machine learning is doing. It improves itself, and it requires really no input from humans. And
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, I think this slide is a great example too of what we've all been experiencing on Google and Facebook for years, where they're showing us ads, and the ads that get clicked get shown more often. And so I don't think the concept is foreign, but what's so exciting is it's democratized now, so that you can take what Google and Facebook used to become trillion-dollar companies and use it for your car dealer.
Yeah, right, exactly. And this is what we do a lot of at AutoLeadStar, and it's you know, it's all there already. These are tools that people can use now, and they don't have to be the world's biggest company to use it. So a couple terms that sort of explain how powerful AI can be. When we talk about rule-based automation versus machine learning, so let's talk about that website visitor again. So you have this website visitor, and let's say you want to show them relevant content. So you think, how did they find my site? Maybe they found it from Facebook, maybe they found it from Google, right? So if I'm setting up rules, I now have 2 options. I now have 2 different scenarios that might happen, right? And so if I'm writing rules for that, 2 things is not so hard, right? And then I think, well, I'd like to personalize it further. I'd like to show content and offers that are really relevant. So let's see what they're looking at. Maybe they're looking at a VDP, maybe they're looking at a home page. So now I have 4 options, right? Facebook to VDP, Facebook to homepage, or Google to VDP, or Google to homepage. And so now I have 4 options. That's still manageable. But let's say I want to personalize it even further, and I want to see what my user is doing after that first landing page that they land on. And so now I can start to have so many different options. And of course, if you take this like 3, 4, 5, 10 steps down the line, it's so hard to keep up with all the variations that at this point it sort of becomes impossible to really personalize to each customer, right? And you're probably able to personalize 1 or 2 steps in, but further on it becomes impossible. And that's really what machine learning can do, is can take all of these variables at the same time, and instead of you having to think of every single outcome, it can really sort of account for all of those different outcomes at the same time. So that's where machine learning is really taking us.
And wouldn't you say too, it kind of avoids biases, right? Like maybe you think someone coming from Facebook isn't high quality or they're only going to look at this or that. Like machines don't maybe have those inherently built in and are more
Right,
open to what's best.
their decisions about your Facebook users are based on what all of the Facebook users do, not necessarily what I think Facebook users do.
Mm,
So yeah, you're right.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so another example of where AI can really help us is in chat. And so a lot of dealerships have chat tools now. The problem is that if you have thousands of visitors per month, you can't really talk to all of those people with your sales team. It's just too much. So a lot of times people will outsource, but outsourcing has its own issues, which are usually that the people you outsource to don't have enough information about your dealership to actually provide the answers to all of customers' questions. And then it sort of becomes like a grab for lead information, and customers know that, and it's not so valuable for them. So where a chatbot can really solve this problem is by having access to so much information, to everything there is to know about your dealership, whether it's your inventory, your hours, your service options, whatever it is, to be able to answer any question from anyone at any time. So it'll be cheap and easy and convenient and provide a lot of value to customers. And this is really a very rapidly developing area of AI where if you look back to a year ago, it's totally different. If you look a year ahead, it'll be totally different. So keep your eye out for that. The last sort of section of AI that will emphasize that can really help dealerships in a practical way is retargeting. And Scott, you mentioned this before, like when you can follow your customers based on their behavior on site, and you can do that by programming, right, with rule-based automations, and that can be really great. And what AI can really help with is allow you to incorporate a lot of different factors into that retargeting. So if I know that a customer saw a VDP and then saw a finance page, I can send them a finance offer on that particular vehicle, and all of those factors can be taken into account at the same time, again, without human input. So it's a really exciting way to be able to reconnect with customers. And the same thing is true, again, for email campaigns, for follow-up, for staying in touch after the sale, to really be able to reach people with multiple factors taken into account at any given moment.
Yeah, and it makes me think how, most dealers are working off of, say, a CRM last touch model where the last thing someone did online is what shows up in the CRM as the source.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think, conversation in the industry. I see at conferences about multi-touch attribution, which is awesome, where you can see on Google Analytics like all the things people did to get to your vehicle, and Google says, it's 24 to 27 touches across different media, traditional, digital. I think what you're really saying, which is so exciting, is it's not only knowing how they got there, but now being able to say, if they took path A, give them this. If they took path AAAA, like,
Right.
hundreds of thousands of potential paths, like everyone can get exactly what they need, which is really personal. And I think it's almost what people expect, right? Because of Amazon, it's almost
Right.
poison the well. Like you can't not be personal.
Right, and like nobody thinks to themselves, I am part of this segment of buyers, right?
Yeah.
They think, I looked at this particular thing. I want something that addresses that in particular. So, yeah, people are really starting to expect that.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
Yeah, so what we're really talking about here is adding personalization to the entire shopping process, again, on a large scale, and that's at any stage that customers are at, before the sale, during the sale, after the sale. Some ways that this plays out before the sale is really when customers are educating themselves, and they're doing research, especially early stage shoppers. A lot of times we really don't have time to deal with the kind of repetitive questions that come from early stage shoppers. Again, if you're doing something like lead scoring, you might not find that this lead is so valuable for you to spend your time on. But with AI, that customer can really get what they need, whether it's through a chat tool, whether it's through a website that can respond to their needs in real time. It can really help dealers reach a larger market of people who are not quite at the buying stage yet. And then if you move to during the sale, there are so many things that can be automated, that can be personalized. A lot of people find the paperwork of the actual sale to be so difficult, so tedious, so time-consuming, and hopefully this will come up with ways to make it faster, make it more streamlined, and also make it more helpful and personalized so that recommendations about, let's say, financing or trade-in can be made more personalized for each customer. And again, this can follow customers all the way till after the sale when they're driving off into the sunset, and you want to keep in touch with them because, as we know, customer retention is so difficult. There's so much competition. There's so little brand loyalty, or there's less than there used to be. And so, what AI can help dealers do is stay in touch, provide the right kind of email campaign, provide the right kind of communication that takes into account all the different variations. Let's say, like, what type of vehicle they purchased, was it new, was it used, again, maybe what color it is, although I don't know if that's as important afterwards, but to take all of those factors into account and to be able to provide reminders, service packages, even automatic updates as cars become more and more technologically based. So that's really a way to help that process of customer retention and to build revenue after the sale as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, we're going to get into some resources and some tools because I know I think a lot of you here are probably like me and you're just dipping your toe in, wanting to experiment. And I know we had some people jump in after we started, so I wanted to say welcome to Brian and Chris and Melvin and Scott and Stanley, Wayne. Put your questions in the question box, and while you think of your questions, I'm going to put up a quick poll because both Devorah and myself would love to show you more of what's possible with what we call a free digital audit. This is a chance where we basically look at your digital marketing from the 9CLOUDS side and show you what could be improved, and on the AutoLeadStar side, they'll kind of show you what's possible with AI. So go ahead, there's a poll up right now. If you want to meet us, talk to us individually, just go ahead and click yes. If no, if you hate free things, you can click no, that's fine. We got about 5 more seconds here. We got 60% of people have voted already, so get your votes in, and the polls are going to close in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for doing that. We'll reach out to those people who were interested in talking a little bit more. So, Devorah, let's talk real quick about resources, and while we're giving you guys some websites and tools to try out, go ahead in that question box and share any thoughts. One thing that did come to mind before we dive in, I think, a lot of times you talked about scaling, right? And I could see a lot of dealers saying, I don't have thousands of leads that I need to scale, but what I'd almost flip it to say is, like, we're probably overstaffed right now across the board at dealerships for what we have. Like, we're almost staffed to handle it all manual. And so if you don't think about, like, I need thousands of leads to use AI, but instead say, what if I took my top 20% of salespeople or whatever it is and we're able to augment them a little bit, what would that mean for my store? So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I'm sure that's one thing maybe some people are thinking.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning about being able to take sort of the busy work off of people's hands, and I think even if you don't have that many leads, hopefully this will get you more, but even without that, it allows you to focus your time, and again, like, I think that some of these tools will help dealerships get more leads because customers who are getting what they want more tend to be happier, tend to reach out more.
Yeah, and it kind of fits into, 9CLOUDS' mindset. We think about inbound marketing, like giving people a reason to come to you instead of shouting at them. And it's kind of a long play, right? Like, you're not going to turn on AI and suddenly get thousands of more leads, but what you're going to do is provide better service, more information. You're probably going to create better content to show up on Google. So all those things really stack up to create a better channel for getting customers.
Right, and it'll probably take a little while to notice, but I think that it will help the numbers.
Yeah, so let's share a few resources. I know the first two you kind of had on here, and then I'll kind of mention the second two.
So the first one, I really encourage everybody to try out. This is like just a great way to play with AI and see how machine learning works sort of magically before your eyes. And what they have here that's especially fun is a drawing tool, and you can sort of draw a picture of anything. Like, I tried a fish yesterday, and after a couple of lines, it made suggestions to me, and one of them was a fish, and it was accurate, And the idea here is every time you do that, you're teaching the machine more things, and its predictions get more and more accurate. So you can really see AI working in real time, and it's just like a really fun tool to play with. Um, the second one is, that's a chat. It's one of the chat tools that's, I guess, more active and more developed, and that's on Kayak's Facebook page. So if you just want to see like what a chatbot does, if you haven't used one.
Yeah, and two sites I really like reading about AI, Marketing AI Institute, which is kind of a weird domain to look at, but that has a lot of great resources. A lot of the tools I mentioned here today came from that. Christopher S. Penn, he's a marketer I followed for a long time. He talks a lot about AI, and he had that example about content marketing with the topic clusters. So I definitely check out their websites, and then a few tools if you want to really like just play around. These are things I'm thinking about as a marketer and a content creator. Um, one area is automating content. So basically having machines write content for you. There's 4 different companies down there that do that: Narrative Science, Automative Insights, Skyward, Karada. And you can even see this live. Like I know in the Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball, a lot of the stories about the games are actually written by machines because it's just taking this box score and writing a story about it, which is interesting to see. You can also use some AI tools to help you pick what to write about and also to look at your writing and give you suggestions on how to improve it. So almost like advanced spell check, right? So there's a few: Scoop It, Market Muse, Acrolinks, Atomic Reach, a few other ones just to check out. If you want to basically personalize content, so basically people would see the content that they're interested in based on your CRM or your database. OneSpot and OpenTopic both do that. And then I mentioned marketing automation a lot in my section there, but HubSpot and SharpSpring are 2 of them that we really like. So those are some tools. You can kind of just go check out the websites. It's fun to see how these companies talk about it and what they're really thinking, which areas could be automated. And I'm really excited to see how this space changes. It's kind of a buzzword, but it's there, right? It's behind the scenes. It's helping people market. It's helping people make decisions, and that's kind of why we wanted to share it a little bit with you today. So we're going to have our last call here for questions if you want to get any in. Wayne and Stanley, Shoshana, good to see you. Scott and Robert, Melvin, Jonathan, Chris, Brian, Arthur, and Devora and myself. It's been really, really fun chatting through all this. So Devora, I know one question that came in here was about how much it costs, which is kind of a big open question. So what are you seeing out there in terms of AI and using AI? Like obviously you guys have a charge for your services. How long does it take for a company like you to build it up and to make something useful? And what kind of investment would someone look at if they're using someone else's tool instead of trying to do it themselves?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of tools out there, a lot of tools that people have on their websites now. What we try to do is it's a very quick setup, just a couple of weeks to get started usually, and it's pretty comparable to lots of the vendors in the space. And what you really get is really like a lot of value, and again cuts out a lot of your work. And we're happy to talk to anyone who's really interested in getting started.
Cool. Yeah. Well, definitely, that's a great question. So Wayne is asking about which is the best chat software for AI, and he said Drift ? As an option. So I know you were talking about chatbots. I've seen a lot on the Facebook side. The Facebook Messenger bots are pretty interesting. Those are all you can program them yourself. But what have you kind of seen out there for other software?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Facebook ones are really becoming very popular. I just saw a new one yesterday that's come out. So I think that's really where a lot of people are able to develop them sort of quickly and integrate them well. So I would definitely check those out. But I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in the auto space specifically coming up soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of the chat providers in the auto space are trying to integrate AI, and it's interesting because you see this industry-specific companies working on it, but then you're almost seeing the outside companies like Facebook. They're making their chatbots able to be placed on your website. So they're almost eating the industry-specific tools in a way. So it's going to be interesting. So on Facebook, Wayne asked Facebook ones ? So basically on Facebook, you can develop a chatbot, or you can go get someone else's chatbot, and then you could put that on your website, if I understand it right, Devora.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. And there are also there are other ways. There are other types of there are other types of tools where they're integrating, or they're starting to integrate, like into other types of chat tools like WhatsApp and things like that. Messaging tools. That's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, there's different kinds of platforms, but I think Facebook is very user-friendly at this point.
Yeah. So I'll include in the email to everybody I'll find some Facebook Messenger links for you, Wayne, so we can kind of point you in the right direction. But I know a couple of them that I've seen that are really exciting, like Marriott has a really great chatbot where, you can ask about dates and reservations and openings, and it'll just talk to you back and forth, whether you're on Facebook or on other sites. And so there's a lot of power there, and I think, like you said, that's just going to keep being developed and growing. Um, yeah, I think any other questions from you, Devora, that came up or thoughts from this topic that you want to share before we close?
Um, I'm just so excited to hear about where everything's going, what you guys are doing, and I think there's just a lot of potential all around for growth and for really maximizing these tools.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's early days, especially in the auto space. So everyone listening here, whether it's live or later on, reach out to either of us if you're working on something that we can share and learn from, because I think the more we can teach each other, the better the industry will be. So on behalf of Devora and myself, we want to thank you so much for attending. At 9Clouds, we do at least monthly webinars as well as a live Facebook ad series called 9Clouds Live, so you can go check that out. AutoLeadStar has a lot of great information about AI on their website as well, which is AutoLeadStar.com. And we're both on the conference circuit, so if you are at a digital dealer conference or at another event sometime soon, just find one of us. The AutoLeadStar folks are always in bright orange shirts, and I'm generally just walking around with a black backpack. So Melvin did have a question here before we log off about, does your product work with virtual reality? Mine does not. I don't know about AutoLeadStar, and if you have any more specifics, Melvin, you can throw them in, but I'll let you kind of answer that here before we
Yeah,
jump off.
we are not in the virtual reality space yet, but I'm wondering what Melvin's up to that he has that question.
Yeah, Melvin, tell us what you're up to so we can get into the virtual reality space with you. I think a lot of the tools we're talking about are using the platforms people are on and just making it a little bit easier. I like how Melvin's maybe going to the virtual reality space where it's a different experience, where you could see vehicles from your home, I'm guessing, is one idea. Um, Things like that. So that would be really powerful if you think about combining that with a chat, for example, where someone could actually talk you through the demo via virtual reality. So
Virtual
that'll
test
be
drive.
that'll be your next project, Deborah. That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, everyone who attended. It is awesome to have you. We'll be sending out an email with this video probably in the next 24 hours, so feel free to share that with your colleagues, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. And rest assured, if you email us, you'll still be talking to us personally. So we'll make sure to reach out personally, and we'll see you next time on a webinar with 9Clouds or AutoLeadStar. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
See ya.